for those who love it loud. Pantheon Podcast presents Rockin' Pod Weekend, Nashville, March 17th through the 19th. It's a rock convention featuring panels, interviews, podcasts, signing sessions, vinyl, comic books, pop culture, and collectibles. Over 50 celebrity guests, including members of Mr. Big, Tough, Great White, Keel, Winger, Accept, and Twisted Sister. Live concerts including Rare Hair on Friday, Keel Fest 2 on Saturday, and Eric Martin's Big Acoustic on Sunday. Plus a rockin' comedy show featuring Courtney Cronin-Dold, Don Jameson from That Metal Show, and Craig Gass from The Howard Stern Show, and a whole lot more. Full details at rockinpod.com. Rockin' Pod Weekend is presented by Pantheon Podcasts in association with RFK Media, Third Power Amplification, and BobbyDreyer.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely. Pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your brow on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 143 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. I just want to remind you about everything you can find online at mistresscarrie.com, including all of my social media links, every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, my concert calendar, my blog, and the online Mistress Carrie store. With a brand new album called Skeletons coming out on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, and a couple of tour dates in New England starting on Thursday, March 23rd in Worcester, Massachusetts at the Palladium, I thought now was the perfect time to bring Leigh Kakaty from Pop Evil back on the show. Leigh first joined me on June 9th, 2021 on episode 53. And it was just before the band released their last album. So Leigh and I got back together again to talk about the new album Skeletons, what it was like to recover from a pretty severe battle with COVID, the concept of bands releasing full albums versus just releasing singles, and the pressure to name an album. We also talked about holiday cards, spoiling kids, working with green screens on music videos, flying drones, how every tour has a Spinal Tap moment, the love of the rock community, and so much more. If you're not too familiar with Leigh Kakaty or with Pop Evil, check the show notes for this episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast. So, allow me to reintroduce you to Leigh Kakaty from Pop Evil. Mr. Leigh Kakaty!
How are you, Mistress Carrie? Your studio looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's coming along. It's coming along really good. It's so good to see you.
Great seeing you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you know what? I had to go back and look at the last time you were on the show. A lot has changed since June 9th of 2021.
Oh, wow. Yes. Feels like forever ago, right? But it's not even that long ago, a couple of years, a year and a half.
We were talking about the pandemic and all of the things that changed. And then shortly after you were on the show, you actually tested positive for COVID. Not my fault.
You totally got me. You totally got me COVID there. No. Yeah, that sucked for sure.
But you're all good now. I mean, there's definite cases of like long COVID. Most famously, I think Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction still battling it like a year and a half later. It's crazy.
It's scary. It's scary. You know, I feel fortunate. I mean, I got hit hard with it. I remember we had to cancel, I think, 2 weeks of the tour. And it was weird. After I got back at it, I feel like my voice got stronger because, again, before when we started the tour, before I had COVID, that was the big height of the pandemic. So I hadn't sang in about a year or whatever it was. So I remember when I came back, my voice was a little, I mean, it sounded good probably to the fans, but I remember just, internally, it was bothering me a bit, and then after COVID, I feel like I remember talking to Haley, our drummer, about it. And she's like, you know what, if you sing, I read this article, it should help you get your voice back. Lo and behold, I think about 2 weeks after I got healed, I felt like my voice was back to normal and back to full strength. So it was weird, but no, it was not fun. I mean, that whole just time period was just so just dark time for a lot of us.
Did you discover any new hobbies or any non-music related activities that you kind of fell in love with because you actually had time to pursue them?
I mean, yes and no. I think half of the year spent from just us. What do you call it? I mean, I've been touring since I was 14 or playing shows in bars and clubs since I was 14. So I think for the first 6 months, I just had to deal with not being able to play a show. I didn't even know what that meant, so it was just kind of being locked away and kind of punished. It was so weird, that. But I think after that started to come out of that shock, it was a little bit. I got into some carpentry stuff for a little bit, realized I didn't like that at all. And then got back into writing, man. I wrote the Versatile album and then wrote this Skeletons album that we're about to drop.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that.
Do you see that you're sideways? It's so strange.
Yeah, it's weird, but you don't want me vertical, right?
Well, right now, to me, you're sideways. Yeah. Now I can see. That's fine if the space is.
Okay?
Yeah,
is that okay?
Yeah,
okay,
it's perfect.
Okay, cool.
So I feel like the last time we talked, you were getting ready to release a record, and we were talking about your process of going to the store and actually buying a record. And now Skeletons is coming out on St. Patrick's Day. Are you going to do the same thing? You're going to go to the store and get it?
I got to do it. It's tradition. I got to get the CD or vinyl now too, and you got to open it up. I got to smell it. I'm superstitious for sure. I got to wear the same socks probably. Knowing me, I'm crazy about it. But I'm excited to do that. I think that every album release gets a little sweeter, just because it's just harder. It's harder, to get that in, and you realize all that you've done, and I think you realize the journey that each album brings. Right? It's like a 2-year commitment, and it's exciting. It's exciting.
There's a lot of bands that have come out recently and talked about shifting the way that they release music. The guys from Godsmack have talked about it. The guys from Slipknot, the guys from Disturbed, saying maybe moving forward, the pressure of a full-length release might not be necessary the way that music fans are getting their music digitally now. How do you feel about the future of Pop Evil after Skeletons comes out? And are you questioning whether or not you're going to release music as a body of work or in little bits at a time?
Yeah, I'm the same. We hear all the same things too. We just pros and cons. Things I don't like about it is just the nostalgia. I think growing up just as a little kid, you want the dream was to get your whole album done. You're leaving your legacy, right? Like 10 songs or whatever it is, and that lives on. Or to say you had 10 albums out, 20 albums out, whatever some of the bigger bands have released. It's. I think that's just someone had asked me recently on a previous interview, like, what would equal success? And I think that maybe that is, it's just leaving your legacy, right? Like being able to say you did this for 20, 30, 40 years. It's a tough business. And so many people don't get an opportunity to put out that kind of music. So I think with the nostalgia part of it, obviously I don't like that. But I think from a modern day, I think it makes sense. Why waste all this money in writing songs that people aren't even going to listen to? I'd rather put that money into the music videos, put it into the stuff to really bring, 1 or 2, 3 songs. You think about what do bands release, 2, 3 singles? And I'd rather have the money to really give a visual with that, because everything now is YouTube and streaming and, hey, let's go watch it on right now on demand, so to speak. My whole TV experience is all I watch is YouTube. So I don't even watch normal TV unless it's sports. So it's just, it makes sense. I'm down. It definitely takes a lot of stress to write a bunch of songs that, you might not be feeling, or maybe your energy got soaked up on the first half of the album. It's tough. It's tough making albums. It's a huge commitment. And, as your family grows, little ones get bigger, it's so important to be there for them and to be spending time away from family and friends when we tour a lot anyways. It's I'm down. I say just do the singles, man, and then grow from there. So I embrace it. If we're ready to do it, I'm ready to go, but I'm cool either way at the moment. But I understand, and I'm all for it. Whenever they want it, let's go.
When you release a body of work like that, like Skeletons, you get all the songs together, right? And then there's the pressure, like a baby. We got to name it, and we can't get it wrong.
For sure. So, yeah, it sucks. I hate everything about that you just mentioned. That's not fun. Actually, Skeletons was named early on in the process, the first one ever in the history of Pop Evil, where we had the name of the album early on, and we could really kind of grow the brand and what we wanted to do to market it, and so it made this album a little less stressful from that perspective. But normally, you're right. That's a horribly stressful part of the album process for any band. I would be shocked if any band you talk to would really give you the truth and say they love that part. I mean, I hate that part.
A lot of bands had to kind of shift how they functioned to try and move forward. And so for a lot of artists, for the first time, they worked collaboratively digitally, writing albums on Zoom, sending files back and forth. Was Skeletons written differently because of what was going on in the world, or were you guys able to kind of keep the same workflow?
Yeah, I think Versatile, our last album, was written more like that, but I think it's carried on now. And Skeletons, like, there's this work ethic now through email, via Skype, or whatever we're doing that has now become standard because of that. That it gives band members an opportunity to be a little more relaxed, or to be at home, be in the comfort of their families. They don't have to be gone, sitting, waiting. Because for most bands, writing songs, it's not like 5 people are sitting in the room at all times, sitting there. It doesn't happen like that for every single song at every time. So there's a lot of sitting sometimes. If someone's got an idea, you want that person to flush that idea out. And if you don't have any idea at that point, then you're just sitting there waiting. So I think that it's definitely made things a little more enjoyable. I think that we haven't had to stress over, okay, you got to be here and we got to, hemorrhage all this money to make sure everyone's together at all times. So it's, I think it was there for Skeletons, but I think it was more an issue during Versatile, where it's become more of the norm now. If that makes sense.
You guys were also one of the bands that really got affected being an international band, meaning your band members are from different countries because of all of the travel stuff. So talking about Haley being able to give you advice on how to get your voice back after COVID, like being able to get the band back together and get back out on the road after not only just dealing with the scary pandemic stuff, but also just the logistics of the Pop Evil mechanism.
Yeah, it was a mess for us. Definitely, we didn't want to do anything. And Haley's so loved by our fan base that, we didn't want to do any shows without her. So we waited. And then when we got Haley back to coming, her visa stuff there was some issue with it. I don't remember the exact terms. I know they had it all figured out with the management team and whatnot, but we had to wait for a minute. So we did actually have to play at the beginning of that 2021 tour without her. And it's like being without a family member, it's just not the same, but we had to work. We had to work. We had already sat out a year at that point. And I know that we were all getting restless, and Haley she's so gracious anyway. She was so open to just being like, guys, just play. I'll be ready as soon as I get there, and then we'll roll. And so, yeah, getting Haley over during the pandemic time was a big headache. But I think if anything, it brought us closer together, man. It's made us appreciate each other. And, we're definitely using that energy when we created this new album, Skeletons.
It's something that I think you and I have talked about it previously, but for somebody like me that's been in rock for so long, waiting for the day that women were going to be not this novelty anymore in rock, that they could just be a member of the band and it wasn't going to be this thing. And when you go to see Pop Evil now, watching little girls see just a badass drummer like Haley and have it not be like this, oh my God, they have a girl drummer, but just she's a freaking badass. Like this whole new generation of young girls looking at the music that's helping to be made by women in rock right now. It's unbelievable. Been waiting a long time.
It really is. I mean, you know, what you've done, like you said, and then now to what we're experiencing with Haley, it's exciting, you know, for women to not have to be, and that stereotype was there when we first brought Haley in. We're like, I mean, is this going to work? Is this, or nowadays we get asked all the time, like, what's it like having Haley in the band? I'm like, well, do you have a sister? What's it like living with your sister? It's the same. It's the same. We don't even think about it anymore. Like, Haley's the drummer. She's not a girl drummer or a male drummer or whatever. She's just a badass drummer, like you said. And to see the little girls come every night and to see the influence, she's such a pure soul. She has such good intentions in everything she does, that she really is a role model. And to see those kids coming there to not only support the music, but her, it's just it's rewarding to see, because she deserves every bit of it. She's such a great person, again, just thinking about all these cool stories I have, which is just seeing all these little girls that are there for her every night. And but she deserves it. First and foremost, she's just such a great human being. And then when they watch her playing drums, I mean, we get other bands that watch us that are at shows playing or at festivals. They're always like, oh my God, we had to come watch Haley. I'm like, yeah, I get it. So it's she's a blessing, man. And hopefully we continue to grow with her, and she keeps taking it. She keeps stepping it up every album. Hopefully she keeps continuing to do so, and she becomes a big powerhouse like you are in the form you've been doing for so long. Then more girls to come, hopefully.
It was such a random, amazing experience. Last year, I was on vacation with my family, and we were in Wisconsin and on our way to go visit my husband's family, who live in northern Wisconsin. And right before I left for the airport, I saw that some record company friends were on their way to Madison. And I messaged him and I'm like, hey, why are you headed to Madison? I'm on my way there too. And he's like, oh, Shinedown and Pop Evil are playing tonight. And I was like, wait, I'm on my way there. And so you're talking about the other bands standing on the side of the stage, I was able to get last minute tickets to randomly come and watch you guys with Shinedown in Madison. And I was there with my family on the side of the stage, and to see my bonus daughter and bonus son watching you guys from the side of the stage, but to watch Haley, who she looks larger than life. She's so tall and lanky anyway. She looks like Animal from the Muppets just back there.
Yeah. I remember that was a great surprise to see you there with the family and to see the family. We had a good time that night. And yeah, it's always cool to see, and Haley does that too. She brings up, certain girls and that she knows maybe from the VIP, that she'll bring them side stage so they can see, or they'll be right behind her. And you have this big riser that Haley's on. So she definitely is bigger than life for sure. And she's just so kind, and she's so deserving of all that. And like you said too, she's just a great drummer, man. I mean, she's been playing the way her dad's influenced her and her brother have influenced her career when she was growing up, playing in bands with her family. It's just a great story. And to see her come as far as she's come, and hopefully there's a lot of success for her coming. So we'll just see. We just keep grinding, and the way she's always embraced Pop Evil in our catalog, especially the older catalog, is commendable. She's not sometimes band members, when they're newer, they're like, let's play the new stuff, let's roll. She's always the advocate to be like, let's play some of the old stuff, man. We got to respect it. We got to go for it. And we're always like, no, man, let's play the new. So she's just a sweet person.
I had to tell you that we took some pictures. The family took some pictures with you at that show. And every year when we put our family holiday card together, we always put pictures up from all the adventures that we've been on. So I want to let you know that you made our holiday card this year.
Dude, get out of here. That's awesome, man. Yes. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, the guys from Shinedown, awesome. Jelly Roll, those were all family trips that we went on.
Well, we're all your family, technically, Carrie.
That is true.
There you go.
But it was so funny when people started getting our family Christmas cards, because it's always something that we've done. And there's like the family photos, and then on the back it said, have a rockin' New Year, and it had all the photos of the family with all the rock stars we saw, because
I love that.
I've come to realize as a bonus mom that I have now spoiled these kids, because they've never had to walk in the front door of a concert. They've never had to scan their ticket, and they never watch the show like trying to fight to see from the pit. Like you guys were like, no, we want you guys to watch right from the side of the stage.
Yeah.
I think I've created monsters. They don't know what it's like to not hang out with you guys after the show.
You know what? It's a good problem to have, but I think you are right. That's a monster that's going to be tough to break. That's going to be tough to crack.
I know.
I love it. I love that.
You were talking earlier about like pursuing a lot of the visual stuff when it comes to the music. And I wanted to talk to you about, you put up this great video, like side by side, of what it was like for the green screen stuff versus the final cut.
Yeah.
And with stuff like Avatar coming out and movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where like we as the fans get to see the finished product. We don't normally get to see what it takes to get there. How is it for you being in these videos when you're trying to react to things that aren't there? Actors, it's one thing, but for you guys, it's kind of weird.
It's definitely weird, you know, if it's new, if it's new to you. You know, I've done green screen work before, but this certainly not to this level. And you're always kind of at the, you know, director's kind of, you're at his expense. You like whatever he tells you to do, you got to trust him because it's his vision. So we had no idea it's going to look like that at the end. We're just trusting him and Jensen, who is the director. He's so amazing anyways. And I know that we love him just because he turns these music videos into movies, you know, and those are my favorite kind of music videos. We kind of just go on this journey. And I think for any writer, you start out writing these songs with this music video in your head, you know, and you kind of take it through all the steps in your own. So when you actually see it come to life and from another perspective of a director, you're either upset about it. You're like, oh, this song just it totally didn't come out how I wanted. Or it was like, oh my God, this is even better, you know? And you know, for Paranoid, this video in particular was huge. I mean, it was awesome. Jensen was like, just trust me. I got it done. Green screen's here. You're going to be walking on this. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's just go. So I remember the band. I think I was scheduled from like 9 a.m. to, I was supposed to be done around 8 p.m. You know, I was just doing a couple scenes originally. And I got into so that's all I was told. Then I think I get into the early, what do you call it? Music video call in the morning when they're kind of giving us the walkthrough. And he's like, yeah, by the way, we changed up some things. But you're going to be, we got a stuntman for you. You know, you're going to be here till probably 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, what? Like, I remember the band members didn't know they were supposed to be there at 8 p.m. They got there at 8 p.m. and I'm still hot and heavy. They're like, I'm on top of a car. I remember Joey being like, man, I got in there and it was just, I knew this video was going to be epic. You were on top of a car. They had no idea. So it was pretty unbelievable. It turned out so amazing, but not surprised. Jensen is one of the best directors in the game right now. He's obviously I'm a big fan of him as well. And hopefully down the road, he keeps taking these visuals to a whole nother perspective, and it gives the fans another opportunity to get into the music.
When they're looking for a stuntman for you, did he look like you or did they have to make him look like you?
Nothing. Short hair, no facial hair at all. Like, they made him look like, it was pretty sweet. I'll have to post one of the pictures. He looked like, I mean, if you're up close, like personal, it maybe not quite the same, but if it's in moving and walking and rolling, like I think the first scene in the video where he does a scorpion, he falls on his back, his legs all flip. I remember he got in and did that. I was like, oh my God, I think the band thought I did it. Then I came out from behind and scared the band. They were like, did we just break his back? I'm like, nope, right here, ready. So it was wild, man. It was a lot of fun.
There's always that question, you know, if there was going to be a movie about your life, like who would get cast as you?
Yeah.
And so like the concept of trying to find someone that looks like you.
Be tough, right? It would
and
have
then
to be
for
Roman
you
Reigns, probably.
to see someone that is made to look like you, that's got to be weird.
It was weird. I remember we FaceTimed some of my family members just to mess with them. You know, and I got in. They were like, what? Because it was kind of dark, you know. I'm like, yo, and I was talking for him. I was like, you lip this. I'll say, hey, how y'all doing? And he kind of lipped it as I talked it. So it was my voice. Oh man, they got him. We got him. They didn't have a clue. It was great.
See, now that would make a great holiday card.
That would be an epic holiday card.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said something that I kind of want to follow up on because I never really thought about it. You and I have talked about it in the past. It comes up all the time on the show that I just don't have the ability to kind of write songs or music, but I'm fascinated by the craft and I love kind of getting into you guys' brains to see how it works.
Yeah.
But you talked about how when you're writing and recording a song that you already have visuals in your head. Is that always the case? And how early on in the songwriting process do those visuals kind of show up?
Yeah, I mean, it can be, I don't think there's any specific time limit for it. At least for me, how I work, a lot of times when they, let's say you finish the demo process and you're really starting to record it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the final, but the song's actually taking shape. It's there. It's all structurally there. Then, when you're driving around Hollywood Boulevard or wherever you're recording the album, if you're your hometown, or you're back and you're just riding in your car, you start to, I think that's when it comes, because then I don't have any pressure of what's my, vocal compression rate on this microphone for this level here, what the mix, because that can really distort, your vision for the song if you're worried about the technical aspects of, does it sound good or is it mixed right? So when I'm in that element, it's kind of like, wow, like I see a video, like I just had the new single we're thinking about dropping. I just literally had a dream about it last night and I was like, oh my God, I think I got it. But before that, I've never had a music video concept for it, or the ones I had, I'd like, these aren't good. So finally, sometimes certain songs come differently. Eye of the Storm, I know we wanted it in water somehow. I had a different vision, but than what the actual was, but the actual ended up turning out so unreal too. It was really cool. And so yeah, every song's a little different, but usually I like to try to put a story or a movie behind it. It's just kind of how I work.
Do you keep a journal or a notepad or something next to the bed for like these ideas, whether they be song ideas or video ideas or something? Because my fear would be to have some flash of brilliance and then it's gone.
Gone, right? No, you'll definitely forget. I just use my phone and I just make a video of myself singing it or talk to myself on the video just so I remember. Because sometimes I feel if you audio record it, you miss the moment. Like sometimes I got to video it and be like, okay, hey, I sang it like this. What do you think? This could be the concept. And then when you watch it, kind of puts you in that moment. Sometimes it helps me remember. But you definitely got to have something, some kind of not really a journal, but some kind of way to log it, for sure.
And when you're working on song ideas, obviously as a band or as an individual artist, right? You've got a workflow with the band. You guys have a way of functioning, even though it may have changed and evolved a little bit because of COVID. But when artists start to bring in collaborations, like you guys collaborating with Fit for a King, and now all of a sudden, what is that like when you've got this thing and now you invite other artists in and you're like, okay, we've got this song or we want you to be part of it. Like, how does that muscle work?
I mean, it can be complicated. There's no doubt about it, because it's not just about a band or in a dream situation, it's artist to artist. And then it's easy and they want to, but sometimes it can be a little more corporate. You got to you got to ask the managers, got to talk to this manager. And then it just really loses its impact. These came very naturally, with Drew and I, we were Drew Falk is our producer. He's amazing, amazing producer. And I know that every song was different. I've been working with Zillion for the past couple of years. So he was an easy pick because him and I are real close. So I was just like, hey, I'd done a song, War Inside Me for them. And I was like, hey, and Trey, you can just do one for me if we have the right song, and he's got some cool alt and some hip hop swagger he does. And I felt like this song, same guys that recorded Work with us, our song Work. So it's beat driven in a way. So I knew it would be right up his alley. So I just sent him over we sent him over the demo and he loved it and threw down, I think, one version. And I was like, oh, I don't know if give me a couple takes. And he came back with the final one. His next, I think it was the second or third take. I was like, wow, that's cool. And sometimes I like doing it let him and the producer do it. Cause I feel like if I'm there, I don't want to micromanage it. I'm like, I don't like, I'd rather be just pitched. You got your moment with the producer. Let me hear it. Dead Reckoning was easy. I mean, I know that Kirby's real close with Drew, and he thought, he had texted him that much. He goes, I think Kirby what if Kirby could do? I'm like, oh my gosh, Kirby do it, be rad, And Kirby texted him. He's like, Kirby texted him right away. Maybe in the first 10 minutes, it's like, look, send it over. And he sent it over to him, and Kirby loved it. And he goes, give me a couple hours. He sent it back, one or two takes. We're like, oh my God, dude, it was awesome, and we loved it. And So again, a lot of this is just having fun. Like, you don't have to overthink it. It's not like we all live in different places. We all, are on tour. We're all doing different things, in our own band careers. So sometimes it makes it a lot more easier to have collabs now, because you can just email it or do you like the song? Because ideally you don't want to get a collab just for the business of it. You want to get a collab because someone kind of feels the song or the beat, so these went. And then the other collaboration was with Devour the Day with Blake. And Blake, I've been working with Blake for the past 2 years. And we wrote Dead Reckoning together. We wrote with Joey as well, Joey Chicago. And then we wrote this song called, oh my gosh, now I'm on to all these other songs now, working on this new stuff. Oh, Wrong Direction. We wrote Wrong Direction that he wrote for another band, I remember. And I was like, he played me some stuff. Yeah, I think it was last year. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta have Wrong Direction. I want it. And he's like, well, I wrote it for this other band. Let me write them. So he wrote it. I was like, write it. I want that song. So he wrote it, and he got the other band that he'd already submitted for. And he said, look, Leigh wants a song. And they were like, yeah, okay, cool. Let Leigh do it. Let just do his thing. They weren't feeling it the same way I was. And I just asked him, I'm like, hey man, it'd mean a lot more to me if you were on the track with me. Like, you're my boy, you're my brother. Let's do this together. Let's have some fun. And at that point, the collabs came when a core of the album was already written. So, why just write more of the same stuff? Like, why not have fun? And the pressure, it is a business, and writing songs that you feel like can actually not just provide for your band family, but can provide for your crew and your team to keep your dream and your business rolling. It's important. So you need songs that we think can, keep us rolling and keep us moving forward, but at the same time progressing and keep us, more in tune to where streaming songs, bands of our size, bands at the format are going. The format's always changing. And I feel like it's just my take on it. I feel like if you just stand still, the fans are very smart now. They're not just in tune to just be spoon-fed the same stuff over and over and over. That even though I think fans kind of want that, they say they want that, but they don't really want that. You come to the show and we play Trenches 10 times. Like, we already have that in the set. So you already play Footsteps in our set. I get it. And it's different, and that's okay. The band was different then, and still a part of our past. We get that. We still totally want to honor and respect our old stuff. But at the end of the day, the band's new. It's a different lineup since the pandemic in general. There's a hunger, there's a fire, there's an aggro element to our energy that we want to showcase on stage live. And I think that once the core of this particular album was kind of done, and we felt like, we had a bit of stability on this record, that we were like, okay, then let's roll, let's rage, let's have some fun, let's execute, and what I call it, right? The ballad. That's the thing too. Like with albums, there has to be a certain peaks and valley and ebb and flow to an album, right? I mean, everyone since we were kids, like this album's my favorite album because it taps into all these moods. But I think that with albums kind of limit, they take you into places that maybe you're not feeling. Like, there's been such an there's been an energy or an anger or a pissed offness that's been since this pandemic that I just haven't been in the mood to write ballads or do things like that, so it's been tougher for me to really get to that place. I mean, we did it. We got some I think there's 2 on this album that are just really, they're awesome. And our old school pop people fans, hopefully they love them as much as we do. But there was this excitement to really elevate our live show and to write songs that maybe we could use that will really give the live show a bit of a boost that could take the place of songs that maybe we don't want to play from the past. So that was an exciting aspect. And then being able to put some collaborations in there too, it was like, wow, let's go for it. And it just really happened naturally. And I found that in the past, when we've tried to force a collaboration, it can be not a fun experience.
I mean, there's so much amazing music that's getting ready to come out. It seems like this tidal wave because bands actually had some time to work and to get off of the tour, hamster wheel of whatever their schedule is normally like. And for bands, at least from the ones that I've been talking to, there was this mentality where we have a record where we wanted to reflect what's been going on in the world, or we have an album that we want to kind of help take people's minds off of what's been going on in the world, because things have been so crazy. And it feels like no matter the side of that line, whether you're echoing the angst and the uncertainty, or you're becoming an escape for it. It seems like either way, it is ripe for rock to have an amazing era right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it. I think that's what makes rock, metal so important for people like us that live in this world, because there is that element of reflection, and then kind of this aspect of we want to move past it. You get a little bit of that you get a little bit of both of it on most albums, but sometimes you get those albums that are the yin and yang of it, so I think that's why, certainly people that are listening to pop music, the timeless songs you always hear are more driven in the metal and the rock world, right? You hear those songs that are timeless, they last the test of time, because they have substance, they're really, and I think that just comes from true musicianship, right? Like a lot of the people at the format they really play their instruments and they dive in, and that's not a slap at the pop world. Mainstream music is mainstream music. It is what it is. I have guilty pleasures in that genre, just like anyone else does, but I think that comparing it to the musicianship of where we're at with a lot of the bands that we both know and love and listen to, there's a family, blue collar mentality around it that is, I think there's this underlying, at least for pop people, there's this underlying like responsibility to write songs that can help, that can make a difference, right? That just aren't trying to take advantage of the time or the situation. We're trying to write songs that can not just help. You take a song like 155, that was one of our first songs that we did in 2008. I mean, people still, want us to play it now to this day, so it's been helping different generations, and that's the huge ultimate compliment. And to have songs and again, not to slam the other genres, making it very clear, there's plenty of songs that are timeless, I'm sure, but I don't listen to them. I'm listening to, the rock and metal world. So I'm not the guy to give advice for that, but I think that when I've heard from fans and family and friends that we've all grown up in this landscape, that there's more responsibility to just write songs that can make a difference and help, and kind of like the Hallmark cards of the world, right? Like people that we don't buy cards, or we don't, the doctor, the parents, the brothers and sisters, the people that can't necessarily help. The one thing that can was music, and it was always there for me personally. And I'm sure it was there for you as well. And being able to have a sense to give back and to give people a release that can hopefully give them some substance is, I think, what makes these genres so important and so passionate and close to our hearts. So it's kind of where I'm at with it.
The live experience of it too, talking about the difference with genres, it always seems like there's a different level of the live experience when it comes to rock fans, that you can go to a pop show and you're going for the fun, and you're going to have a few hours to go and sing some songs you love with your friends, and that's all great. But with rock, it always seems like it's just a little more. Like it's a place for us to all go to commune together, to experience that show together, and to kind of exercise our demons together, which is why I think rock and metal has always been and always will be that close-knit community we all love.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think if you're a true rock fan, like what you just said there is very relatable, and again, it's not a slam at any other genre. I'm sure there's tons of fans that love their bands. When you love your band or your artist, you're passionate about it, but there's something different in the rock and metal community, that there's a passion there and a conviction that's like, there's community that just, they don't miss shows. They go to everyone. And that's not just in the US, that's worldwide, right? We're playing Germany. They're coming to every German show. There's 5 shows in Europe and they're coming to all 5. I mean, there's a very powerful support system that is our community here. And I think that's why maybe we have a more of a responsibility to try to help them, man, to see those tears when you're on stage, and to see people that are really taking these songs seriously to open them and bring them into their life and help. I mean, I think that's real. And I think that's something that's very important. And it's easy to get that twisted when you're, getting caught up in the extra stuff, the fame or the excitement or whatever. And I think this pandemic certainly reminded all of us, where the true importance lies. And we're all trying to kind of process that on these albums and with this new chapter looks like for the format. And I think you're right. I think that we're going to see a lot of quality music coming, and already we're seeing it. And it's only just February now, right? So it's just it's incredible, and we just feel grateful to be part of it.
You talk about the international communities. One of the things that's been happening, and a lot of rock artists have been responding to it, Axl Rose down in South America. I bring it up because you guys are contesting around this, like these drone giveaways. And what's happened with a lot of these international outdoor shows is that not so much in America because there's a lot of laws around it, but that these drones are showing up above like crowds and people are bringing drones to concerts. It's insane.
Wow. It's crazy footage though, right? It's got to be some awesome footage for sure. But yeah, I don't, it's a different time, man. Drones now. And it's, look, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the drones. I'm a fan of seeing that footage. It's just awesome to see that many people coming together to support a band. I mean, that's the dream since I was a kid. And when you're there, not only seeing it for yourself, for your band, but experiencing it for other bands as well. It's awesome. There's an excitement there that kind of drone footage gives you that you're like, dang, I got to go see Guns N' Roses in South America next time. I got to see that, So it's pretty rad, and I'm all for it.
I just don't know if you want the drunk guy next to you at the GNR concert flying it over your head.
No, probably not. Probably not.
It wouldn't be the first time that there was like a Spinal Tap moment, though, and I bring it up all the time on the show. So I got to know in all of the live shows, whether it be now that you guys are back on the road or in the early days of Pop Evil, there's got to be some good Spinal Tap, like, what the hell just happened to us on stage moments. Because it's a rock and roll it's a rock and roll constant. You have to have a Spinal Tap moment, at least one.
I'm sure we do. I don't remember. A lot of times those moments you try to push them back. You try to forget about them. So I don't know. I remember one though that I don't know how Spinal Tap it was, but I tore my knee up in my high school days playing basketball. So I have like this fake knee, and I think I just chinched the rehab that I had. I was again young and cocky. I was like, I rehab, and so my knee doesn't go all the way back. And I remember we played this just a long time ago. We played this like I like these. They're like, they'd call them like a real podunk type little like a campfire party. It was, I love those kind of shows. They're fun. I mean, it was packed, maybe 400 or 500 people. I mean, it was a lot of people, and it was a campfire setting. So it was a portable trailer that they flipped down and we played on. And again, it was earlier.
It's like a mobile stage.
Yeah, like a mobile stage. Yeah. That's it. Yep. And it was, again, it was weird. It had this it was a stage, and then it had an opening so we could fold back into the truck or whatever. But it was really dangerous. I don't remember. And I remember falling off it. And my knee, again, it doesn't bend. My one leg fell all the way off it. So my knee literally had to get bent all the way in. I remember laying on the crowd. I think the band thought I did it on purpose, and so I was just trying to like be funny about it. But I remember, that was I wouldn't, again, not Spinal Tap moment, but when you mentioned that, that's the first thing that came to mind. And it was like, I think it's those moments that really shake you, that you remind that they stand with you forever. But as far as like a Cleveland, we're in Utah, I don't know if I had, I'm sure I said something like that on stage at some point, but
it always happens that it happens so frequently that artists fall off the stage.
Yeah.
People don't realize how dangerous it is up there.
That's a fear, right? And especially when you see those big festivals, like you always, I don't know, you'd have to ask other frontmen too, but I always take a look at sound check and you're like, oh man, if I fall off this, it's game over, man. Like and I'm always jumping around and trying to get in the fans. So it's, or walking on fans and you fall in the crowd a little bit. Or I remember one time too, again, not a spine. I remember, I don't even know if they're big anymore. Remember the Fitbits? You'd wear the Fitbit around here. Yeah, try to get your 10,000 steps. Like, I don't know if that's still a thing, but like
people are using their Apple Watches for it now. Like you.
Oh, is that what? Okay, right on. Right. I'm not a watch guy, but I remember getting a Fitbit. I succumbed, and I had some rivalries with some of my friends back home. So we'd always text each other, and be like, "Yo, I got my 10,000 in today." And I remember being in Kansas City, and I went out in the crowd, and I got back after the show, and someone had ganked it. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll find out where this guy is. And you Google him, and I'm like, I can see where he is. And I remember he was already, I think we were in Kansas City. He was already to Springfield, Missouri by that time. He was already moving. So
you were tracking him with your stolen Fitbit?
Yeah, I was tracking him. I was tracking him for like a couple of weeks. We were doing it on the bus. I was like, yo, let's see where our friend Fitbit is. So we go track him up. Yeah. So, we have funny moments like that. Or I remember some of the crazy days when we would, Oh man, I don't miss the party days for sure. But I remember when in the early days we had to have our driver sleep on the bus with us. And I remember there were so many people in the front lounge that day that we crowd surfed him back. We crowd surfed him back to his room, so we couldn't move. I remember he's no longer with us, obviously.
It always amazed me how many singers kept their wallets in their pockets and would dive out into the crowd and crowd surf. Yeah. And how many
have those chains?
Yeah, and how many artists after the show would be like, I lost my wallet out there. And it's like
100%.
You're a rock star. Can't you get somebody to hold your wallet for you?
Yeah, you can't do phones or anything in your pocket for sure.
No, because that stuff you're going to lose all of that stuff.
Yeah, or the phones too. Sometimes if you got phones, you're getting so into it or headbanging or jumping into the equipment or your buddies that you'll break your phone. You know what I mean? The screen will break. Sometimes I've had that happen a couple times. Learned the hard way, you know. But there's I'm trying to think of any other cooler. But for the most part, nah, it's just when you're really into the show, you just, or maybe that thing doesn't work. I've had tons of situations. Fly dates, those are a nightmare. You know, I'm sure bands can relate to the fly date because you don't have your equipment. You know, those aren't fun. You got to fly, or you got to rent equipment there. If you're trying to use it for the first time, doesn't work. You're like, oh. So those are kind of more of the Spinal Tap moments, I think, these days.
I bring it all up because you're going to be at the Palladium in Worcester on March 23rd on the Skeletons tour. And with everything that's going on in the touring world, because it's like we went from no shows to all the shows, and there's shortages of gear and buses and drivers and techs and all of that. What kind of logistical work did you guys, because this is your tour, it's the Skeletons tour.
Yeah, that was a nightmare for the last tour we did. In 2022, I think we really saw a lot of bands couldn't make the money that we needed to survive because everything went up. You know, all the crew members to buses, they all came back charging more, you know, and you don't blame them. They didn't make, you know, but so for the bands and it was tougher to get things that we needed because everyone wanted to come back. Everyone was off, so everyone came back. So there's shortages of all that stuff. But I think now towards the end of 2022, things, at least like they seem like they're better. I haven't heard of any, again, I haven't been dealing with the logistics for this particular tour at the moment. You know, I've been dealing with writing and stuff like that. So but I haven't heard of anything. Normally I hear about it before now. I would have heard about it by now that, hey, we can't get this or we're going to have a hard time getting that, you know. So hopefully that's a sign of, I know that the bus prices, I think, are coming back to normal. Certainly what goes with the gas, right? The gas is somewhat coming back to normal a little bit. So I think with that, you see that, you know, bands hopefully can now, you know, get out and tour and make a little bit more money from all the losses that we had in touring from 2022 and 2021. So that can also be a bad thing because everyone's coming back to tour. It seems like everyone, at least on the radio charts, everyone's dropping songs right now. So it's tough, man. Everyone wants to get back out, and that's great for fans. But it's a different dynamic for us fans trying to just juggle and make it work because everyone's got to come out kind of at the same time. So it is what it is.
You talk about having all your own gear and stuff when you're out on the road and that it's always better because it's all of your stuff. But what always ends up happening, especially when you're the headliner like you guys are going to be, is that you leave a certain amount of room on the truck for a road case that is convenience or fun. And whether it's a road case that's got the juicer or the coffee machines or the dart board, bands always have a road case that's got like some kind of recreation or convenience item. So do you guys have something like that?
That we don't have a road case for it. I think we have more that the bay under the, like one of the bays under the bus is that kind of fun. And I think like it always starts off like chill because everyone will be like, no, man, we don't have room on the bus. Nobody can bring this. But by the end of the tour, all the Walmart stops you find like, or the truck stops, you'll find all these weird hats, like these chicken hats, like people are just buying unnecessarily. Like everyone's got, or the front of the bus over by the driver's seat, under the driver's seat is like, you know, that the badminton set that someone got for no reason that we're going to play in the parking lot of like Walmart. So it's I think that it accumulates as the tour goes on. So, but it starts off clean. Everyone's like, yeah, I only brought my one bag. I only brought one pair of shoes. And then by the end, they have 40 pair of shoes. You're like, how'd you get so many shoes? Remember I went to the mall like every day? Oh, okay.
That's what happens when you go to Walmart at 3 a.m. drunk.
They had this shoe for $2, man. I had to buy it, man. I'm like, yeah, I guess that is a good deal. I'm going to go buy to the next one. I'll go get it too. So that's fun, man. That's the fun part for sure.
When you pull into the truck stops late at night, and I used to be a truck driver in my previous roadie life before I was on the radio, there are always those must-have purchases. Like I remember when I was driving cross country and we got into Texas or something, and we found this place that was selling like fresh baked tortillas, and we bought like 100 tortillas and we were eating them. Like if you're asleep in your bunk and the bus stops and you realize you're at a truck stop in the middle of the night, if you get out of bed in your pajamas and stagger into the truck stop, like what's the stuff that you're looking for?
Well, you kind of hit, I thought you were going to hit on something else before that. Like if you're in your bunk and you realize the bus stopped, because it depends on the bus driver. If the bus driver is like really like pro or business, like they won't stop because they're on their 8 hour. They very rarely will stop. They kind of require you to get your food before. But every now and then you can get some really cool bus drivers that, yeah, they'll stop for a minute, or they got to get gas, and they're cool about it. Sometimes bus drivers, they'll stop and get gas at 5 a.m. or 7, and then you're passed out by then. So if you realize the bus stops and you're sleeping, then you realize you missed out on Disneyland, because truck stops in the middle of the night are like Disneyland or Disney World to any of us, because that's like a breath of fresh air. So what I find, at least from our camp, when we stop at those things, it's a lot of the new stuff. Like you'll get that Oreo cookie that's infused with cherry like jam or something that you didn't know, that people are buying like all kinds of new stuff to try. So they'll be like, did you try those new Cheerios? I mean, they had them at the truck stop. I'm like, well, damn, I never eaten Cheerios since I was 14. Let's try that, because it has suddenly got banana flavored Cheerios. I'm in. Let's try it. So a lot of the new candies or whatever they're trying, a lot of people get that. I know we used to have for a minute chip parties. So they get the, what would we get? We get those 3D Doritos. When those were new, those first came out. So those were real popular. People are like, these Doritos are 3D. You got to see them. I'm like, this is not 3D. We just mix it with this queso dip. I'm like, oh my God. So, you start off, if you missed it and you walk up from the back lounge of your bunk and you see there's a chip party going on, well, you realize you're not going to go to bed till 7, 8 in the morning because you're going to be up there all night, so, and then it turns into karaoke, except if you're me, I'm like trying to karaoke without using my vocal. So it's wild, man.
What's the go-to karaoke song for Leigh Kakaty from Pop Evil?
Oh, for me, it was always, I think it was always STP Blush back in the day. It was always STP or Pearl Jam, Better Man or something like that, But I haven't done karaoke. I always wanted to roll up to a place and do a Pop Evil song, just unknowing, just do it up. I forget what artist I saw do that one time, and the crowd went nuts. And I was like, I got to do that one of these days.
Didn't Dolly Parton lose a Dolly Parton lookalike contest at a drag club once?
Could have. Yeah, I think I remember.
She lost to a drag queen dressed up like her because people didn't believe it was the real Dolly Parton. Or was
she
it
didn't
Lady
look like
Gaga?
Dolly enough. She didn't look like Dolly enough.
It was either Dolly or Lady Gaga. Either one. It's freaking hilarious.
Either way, awesome. Ooh, that's awesome. Yeah, it might be Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
During the height of the pandemic, on my video show, I do like a live streaming video show called Cocktails in the War Room every Tuesday night. Yeah. And during the height of the pandemic, people were sending me those weird food things that you're talking about because they wanted me to try them on the show so they could see my reaction.
I love it.
Now, of us here in the Northeast, like Dunkin' Donuts is like, rule. When Dunkin' Donuts came out with Dunkin' coffee flavored jelly beans.
Oh, wow.
You got to keep your eye out for those at the truck stops in the middle of the night if you can track those down.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
You don't even have to try. That sounds amazing.
They're so good.
Sounds so good.
I mean, wow. I know when you guys are up here, if I can find them for you, since you're going to be in Worcester anyway, if I can find some of those jelly beans, I'll hook you up because they're
please. That would be amazing.
They're kind of delicious.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I love it.
Before I let you go, I want to talk to you about career advice because as weird as this is to say, Pop Evil are now some of the elder statesmen when it comes to rock now. Like there's this whole new generation of rock bands. Is there advice that you wish someone would have given you at the early days of the band that maybe you would give to a band just starting out now to try and navigate everything?
Yeah. I mean, you got to try your best to run your own race. It's hard because there's a lot of great bands doing a lot of great things around, and it's hard not to want what others have. Like that's the hardest part because when you're a local band, before you break, it's easier you can live in a bubble, right? And you play that one show, maybe you're opening up for that national. You're like, wow, you're seeing these wins that are coming, and maybe not super fast, but they're coming for you. And it's easy to kind of get focused on the next one, and you're excited. Sometimes for us, as you get signed or as you start to grow, the excitement is harder because it's even for us, we've done so much. It's hard to keep motivated. And I've seen with so many bands that have kind of come and gone over the years. And even talking to some of them, their excitement's changed. Like, I don't know if I really wanted to do it anymore. Like, I just wasn't into it. Like, you've heard it all too. It's like, it's tough because this to break in this rock metal scene, you have to be willing to sacrifice years of your life. Like, it's not about, I think, again, new bands don't understand, like, you're not just going to have one number one hit and you're going to be playing stadiums. I mean, not everyone's Greta Van Fleet. Not everyone's going to be, some of these other bands that it happens. Lightning in the Bottle or even Jelly Roll, like that happened really fast. And kudos. They're all sometimes those generations.
It happened really fast, but when you look back at his career, he's been doing it a long time. It's just that the world kind of caught up.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's the, what do they call it? The lightning in the bottle. For most bands, it's not going to be the lightning in the bottle. And if it is, kudos. Then you talk to somebody else about
or it's
advice,
gradual growth, not
Right.
one day you're in that roadhouse and the next day you're in a stadium. Like there's a lot of places in between.
A lot of places, and that goes for even the bigger bands at the format now. I mean, the Five Fingers of Shinedown's. I mean, those bands very well too. That was a steady climb for those bands to finally get to where they're at, and it's just even talking and knowing those bands, they'll tell you the grinds they had to pay to get there. So it's you got to be willing to make that sacrifice. There's nothing quick in this business. And by being patient, you can really build your fan base. It's not even from a viral perspective, right? You're not just going to have that one viral moment and go viral and have legions of fans for long periods of time. Shinedown, Five Finger will, because they paid the dues for years. So if you really want the fans to stay there, you have to just keep focusing on your band and growing your project and putting on the best live show you can. So even when you find moments where other bands might have what you want or they're getting a little bigger faster, you have to kind of put that in perspective and be grateful. But at the same time, and then the realistic advice is start finding bands your size and befriend them. Go support them. Figure out tours together with each other. Really try to not use that radio's not playing me or we're not getting any playlisting on Spotify or these social media. Don't use any excuses to try to just create opportunities for yourself because there's always someone and there's always a venue that can play and there's always someone that can go see you. So it doesn't matter if you're signed. It doesn't matter if you have tons of fans or if you have tons of sales on your records. There's always an opportunity to be a new band and have someone come see you and there's always something exciting about being new. So just be grateful, be appreciative of the things you have and run the race, man. Strap on your boots, man, and get ready to roll.
It is a legendary venue, the Palladium in Worcester, that old theater. When you start playing venues that you walk in and you're like, this place is like 150 years old. There was probably some orchestra playing in there when it was built. And now you guys are going to be on the stage. Like, I love those old venues. There's a vibe about them.
Me too. And they're haunted. So it's got to be some cool story going back in that. But no, we're excited. And then, of course, to get out your way, I feel like Pop Evil hasn't been out that way as much as I would have liked to, throughout the career. So every opportunity we get out your way is very special to us in the band. And to be at a historic place like the Palladium, it's an honor, man. And we're starting some Pop Evil history there. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, we can't wait to see you. I'm so excited you're going to be in town March 23rd. The new record Skeletons is out on St. Patrick's Day, which may as well be a state holiday here too, by the way.
I love it. I'd love to be your way for that holiday for sure.
Let me tell you what, St. Patrick's Day in Boston or the whole Boston area, it's a thing.
That's a bucket list right there just for most of us. That's amazing.
You know what? Next time you're free around St. Patrick's Day, I know you're going to be busy at the record store buying your album that day.
Sure, yeah.
But maybe
I got plans, Carrie.
Maybe next year, if you're not on the road, you could come up to the house.
I would love to.
And I'll take you to Southie and show you what St. Patrick's Day is all about. It's a little nuts.
Wow. That would be unreal. I'd love that. Thank you so much for having me on too. I can't wait to give you a hug in person
I know,
and
me
then
too.
to see you here soon. And maybe those jelly beans.
Oh, I'm bringing you the jelly beans.
I can't wait.
100%. They are chef's kiss delicious.
Magnificent.
Yeah. There Here he is, the one and only Leigh Kakaty from Pop Evil. Their new album, Skeletons, is getting released on March 17th, and you can see him Thursday night, March 23rd at the Palladium in Worcester, Massachusetts. Check the show notes to find all of Leigh's social media links, to find all of the links for Pop Evil, details on the show in Worcester, and this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features my guest music and all the artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and share the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get the Sit Rep. It's around 5 minutes long and filled with all of your rock news, music headlines, and industry info. Plus, you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. You can join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern on my official Facebook page for my video show, Cocktails in the War Room. And as always, you can find me on the radio on The Mistress Carrie Show. Get the details on all that and more at mistresscarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.